All right, next one should be pretty short and sweet. This one's over slope fields. So slope fields are little graphs where we draw little lines that represent the slope at each point. To do this, we have to be given a differential equation, all right, which is what we're working on here. These show up on the free response every now and then, so you never know. They might ask you to draw a slope field, and then you will usually see a multiple choice question or two where they give you a slope field and have you match it to the differential equation. So it's pretty simple on how it works, especially drawing them on your own, which is what we're doing here. So they give you a differential equation. The slope, dy over dx, is equal to x minus 1. All right, so you just start at all the points that are given here, and you can't really see it, but 0, 0 is a point as well right there. And we're just going to plug all these numbers in, and we really only need the x value of each point. All right, because if we plug in the x, that's going to give us the slope. So for instance, if I start at 0, 0, the x value is 0. So I plug in 0. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So I'm going to draw a little line like this with a slope of negative 1. Okay, and in fact, all the lines on this vertical line where x is equal to 0 are going to have the same slope. They're all going to have a slope of negative 1. All right, and then if we move over to the right, x equals positive 1. So all these points on this vertical line here are positive 1, and if I plug in positive 1 for x, 1 minus 1 is 0. So all of these have a slope of 0. And so we draw little line segments with slopes of 0. All right, moving over, x equals 2. 2 minus 1 is 1, so these have a slope of positive 1. And finally, x equals 3. These have a slope of positive 3. Positive 2. 3 minus 1, positive 2. So just draw them a little steeper than you did before. All right, no one's going to be like measuring this or any way, so as long as it's showing it getting a little steeper each time, you're good to go. All right, on this side, negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2, so just a little steeper than those ones next to it. All right, and then x equals negative 2. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3, so a little steeper there. And then x equals negative 3. Negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4, so even steeper than the last ones. And there we go, that's our slope field. One thing they might ask you to do is to draw in a curve that goes through this slope field. All right, and they'll have to tell you like a point. So let's say I draw the curve through 1, 2. All right, so you find that point at 1, 2, right there. That's actually 1, 1. Here, 1, 2 is not a good one. Let's go 1, negative 2. All right, so 1, negative 2 would be right here. All right, so we just want to draw the curve that goes through this slope field and touches that point right there. All right, so you probably want to start like here, and then it's going to get a little less steep, and it'll touch that point there, and it's going to start going back up like that. So this would be like a parabola slope field is what this is looking like here. All right, so there's 2 more, basically the same thing. So if you want to pause now and try those, I would encourage you to do that. Unpause and see how you did. All right, next one, the y-coordinate is the only one that's going to matter on this one because there's no x in there. So if we plug in, let's start with y equals 0, this horizontal line here. If I plug in 0 for y, I get 0. So we're going to have a little too big there. All right, there we go. All right, so we're going to have just horizontal tangents, horizontal lines at each one of those. All right, if I go to y equals 1, this horizontal line here, if I plug in 1, I get a half. So lines at a half like this. And if I plug in 2, I get 1. So a little steeper than the last ones. All right, if I plug in negative 1, I get negative a half. And negative 2, I get negative 1. All right, and let's draw a curve through 1, 1. All right, so 1, 1 is right here. And so it looks to me like this is kind of like an asymptote right here. And we follow along this asymptote. And then if we're going to go through that point, we'll have to curve up, and we're going to continue curving up like that. So it looks like an exponential function. And if they had given us a negative y value, something down here, we would have had the same function, but it would have been going down instead of up. All right, last one. This one's going to rely on both points. So x minus y. All right, so a lot of times I like to identify where is this going to be equal to 0. So this is going to be equal to 0 when x and y have the same value. All right, so like 1, 1. If we plug in 1 and 1, we get 0. So 1, 1. 2, 2. That's going to be a 0. 0, 0. Negative 1, negative 1. Negative 2, negative 2. All right, so we have kind of this diagonal line of x equals zeros. All right, from there you just kind of plug in, and you'll see like these patterns, these diagonal lines will show up again. So like see these points here, they should all have pretty similar values. All right, so let's start with 1, 0. So 1 minus 0 is 1. All right, so this one's 2, 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. All right, this one's 3, 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. 0, negative 1. 0 minus negative 1 is positive 1. 1 minus negative 2 is positive 1. All right, so you kind of see that same pattern. This happens all the time with slope fields to see these patterns. All right, 2 minus 0 is 2, so a little steeper. 3 minus 1, 2. 1 minus negative 1 is 2. And 0 minus negative 2 is 2. All right, so these next ones, 3 minus 0 is 3. So this one's 3 and 3. 3 minus negative 1 is 4 and 4. 2 minus negative 2, and finally 3 minus negative 2 is 5. All right, let's go this way. So this diagonal should be pretty similar. So negative 1 minus 0 is negative 1. 2 or negative 2 minus negative 1 is negative 1. So negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. That one's 1 minus 2 right there. So seems good. All right, 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Negative 2. Negative 2, negative 2. And so these must be negative 3, negative 3, negative 3, negative 4, negative 4, and negative 5. All right, so this one's kind of a tough one to draw in a good point here. It looks like on this side, this is kind of like a slant asymptote, it looks like here. So if on this side, we would go through like that. All right, so let's maybe do a couple different ones here. So we'll draw through 0, 0. Okay, so there's 0, 0. So I'm looking at something like this, and then touches that, and then it follows along our asymptote here. So something like that. And then we'll do one on the other side. Draw through, let's see. I don't know, 2, 0. So that'd be that one there. So this one's a little tougher because we don't have like that whole turning thing going on there. But it looks like it just kind of goes through like this and gets a little steeper each way, something like that. All right, you don't have to be very exact on these. They're very forgiving on the ones you have to draw yourself. So don't be too exact about it. Just kind of follow the lines and what they look like. And as long as you draw something pretty close to what they're looking for, you're going to get the credit there. All right, so give those problems on the worksheet a try, and I will see you for the next one.